The key turned in the lock, and I heard something shift inside the house. Not a creak, not the wind. A shuffle, like someone moving from one room to another. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself old houses breathe. But houses don't hold their breath when you walk through the door. The listing called it a charming two-bedroom cottage on Hemlock Road. The photos showed warm lighting, hardwood floors, a fireplace that looked like it hadn't been used in decades. The rent was too low. I noticed that immediately. But I was 24, broke, and coming off a breakup that left me sleeping on a friend's couch for 3 months. I didn't ask questions. I just signed. The landlord, a thin man named Mr. Ellison, met me at the door with the keys. He had deep-set eyes and spoke slowly, like he was choosing every word carefully. "One thing," he said, handing me the keys. "Don't go looking for things you don't need to find." I laughed. I thought he meant old pipes or bad wiring. "Young people always laugh," he said, and then he left. The first week was quiet. I unpacked slowly. I learned which floorboards complained and which doors stuck. I started to feel like the place was mine. Then I noticed the hallway. It was narrow, maybe 10 feet long, with 4 doors. My bedroom on the left, the bathroom on the right, the linen closet at the end, and a 4th door next to the closet. I assumed it was a storage space, maybe a small pantry. I tried the handle, but it wouldn't turn. Locked, I figured. Old houses always have one locked door. I asked Mr. Ellison about it in a text message. His reply came 3 hours later. "That door doesn't open." No explanation, no offer to send a key, just that. It started 3 nights later. A soft knock. Not on my front door, not on my bedroom door, on the hallway wall. The wall next to the locked door. I sat up in bed. The clock read 2:14 a.m. A second knock, then a third. Slow, rhythmic, deliberate. I told myself it was pipes. Old plumbing does strange things. But the knocks were too evenly spaced, too intentional. I walked into the hallway. The light was off, but I didn't turn it on. I don't know why. Something told me to stay in the dark. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. Then, a breath. Soft, shallow, on the other side of the drywall, inches from my face. I stepped back. The knocking stopped. I did not sleep that night. The next morning, I met the woman who lived next door. Her name was Mrs. Callahan. She was in her 70s, with a garden she tended like it was her religion. "New tenant," she said, squinting at me from behind her fence. "How long?" "2 weeks," I said. She nodded slowly. "And the door?" I stared at her. "What?" "The locked one, in the hallway. You found it." My stomach tightened. "How do you know about it?" She looked at my cottage for a long moment, then back at me. "That door used to connect to this house, a passage between the two. They sealed it up in the 70s. "Why?" I asked. She wiped her hands on her apron. "After what happened to the family who lived there before you." And then she told me. The story. The family before me, a couple with a young daughter, had lived in the cottage for 3 months. The wife started hearing things, knocking from the sealed door, voices, a child whispering. Her husband didn't believe her. "Old house," he said. "You're stressed." One night, the knocking became pounding, hard, frantic, like someone trapped on the other side. The husband called the police. They searched the cottage. They searched the neighbor's house. They found nothing. But the wife refused to go back inside. She took her daughter and left. Her husband stayed to pack. 2 days later,
Mrs. Callahan saw an ambulance. The husband had been found in the hallway, unconscious, a gash across his forehead. He told the paramedics he had pressed his ear to the sealed door. He said something had whispered his name. Then the door had opened. Not unlocked, not forced, opened, and he saw the room.
"There is no room there," I said to Mrs. Callahan. "The hallway ends at the closet." She shook her head. "That closet was built in front of the door. Whoever sealed it didn't want anyone going through, but they didn't want anyone knowing what was on the other side either." I asked her what the husband had seen. She looked at her garden again. "He wouldn't say. Not to the police, not to the doctors. He moved across the country 3 weeks later." "And the family before him?" I asked. "There were 3, she said quietly. All left within 6 months." I felt cold in a way that had nothing to do with the weather. "Young man," she said, "some spaces aren't meant to be opened, and some doors aren't locked to keep you out. They're locked to keep something in." I broke my lease that week. I didn't argue about the security deposit. I packed my belongings in 4 hours and drove away without looking back. Sometimes, late at night, I think about the hallway, the knocking, the breath on the other side of the wall. And I wonder, if I had stayed, if I had found a way to open that door, would I have been like the others who left within 6 months? Or would I have been the one who didn't leave at all? Some spaces aren't meant to be opened, and some truths are better left behind a locked door.